Graveyard Graham's Midnight Ride is currently stuck behind a train. Let's talk about artists who have changed over the years. This subject's been on my mind recently. It came up in the context of my friend Laura, who recently watched the Aristocats for the first time since she was a kid. And she said that there were a whole bunch of double entendres in there that she didn't get as a child, but now she's giggling at them. That reminded me of a story when I was 18 and I started riding my brother's motorcycle. I did not have a license. It was not legal for me to do so, which made it way cooler that I was doing it. I was going to go out and hang out with some friends that night. There would have been girls there, so I could have impressed them by just being, cool, casual, whatever. And yeah, I ride a motorcycle, whatever. But it was late at night, and I was going to ride up to my friend's house, and my plan was to wear these, just pants and a hoodie that I had, and a backpack that all happened to be dark. And my mom threw a conniption, and she said, "No, it's not safe for you to do it." I was like, "Well, I don't have like a white hoodie or a reflective sweater or something, and it's October, it's cold." And so she goes and digs through my dad's dresser and comes up with this sweater from a print shop that he had in the 80s. So it's already dated, and it's got this design on it that he drew that I remember from when I was a little child, from when he originally had the shop. The shop was called Graphic Insanity. And there's this picture that he drew of himself operating a printing press because he took a whole bunch of print shop classes in high school, and that was his business before he became a paper salesman. Anyway, there was a slogan that I remembered from when I was a kid, and I never understood that it was a sexual thing. And then I saw this at 18 with at least some knowledge of the world, and the slogan was this: "Printers do it without wrinkling the sheets." Let that marinate. And then understand that my very Christian religious mother wanted me to wear that to a hangout with girls instead of just a regular Adidas hoodie. Well, I wasn't going to get out of the house without having that dumb sweater on, so I put it on, and without her knowing, I threw my blue hoodie into my backpack. I rode half a block down the street, switched them out, went to go hang out with my friends, and we had a great laugh over this sweater. People change with knowledge, with life, and with experience. Max Collins, the lead singer of Eve 6, has tweeted out, I don't know if he's serious or if he's just joking or whatever, but this is back when he was in the business of just randomly tweeting celebrities about his hit songs. And when their first hit, Inside Out, came out in 1996, he joked that he had not yet had relations with a woman. And then the second album dropped, I want to say in 99 or 2002. I can't remember when Horoscope dropped. But you go and you listen to that song, it's like, oh, he's had a girlfriend since then, because that's pretty much all those songs are about. But I didn't cotton on to all of those pieces of innuendo in my late teens because, it was my late teens and I was a good boy. I went and listened to that album again a couple of years ago, and I was like, holy crap. It's probably a good thing I didn't walk around the house singing any of these songs. I would have gotten in a lot of trouble. The point is, artists change over time with their influences. Blink-182 got accused by all of the super serious hardcore punk rock kids in high school of selling out when Enema of the State came out in 1999. But that is one of their most iconic albums that has kind of stood the test of time over the last 25 years. People still love it and listen to it. Yeah, it's really poppy and top 40 and radio friendly compared to their previous stuff like Dude Ranch and Cheshire Cat and their really early work before they got discovered. If you didn't grow up in that era, you just need to understand that punk rock kids, it was part of their branding to not like something if somebody else liked it. And so the minute something became popular that they had quote unquote discovered or knew before everybody else did, these were the proto hipsters. They got mad when other people started liking the same stuff because their whole identity is being pro-anti. But I digress. Where am I going with all this? What's the point? I've already kind of touched on it here, and it's just that artists are changed by their influences over time. It is nice to be able to expect something consistent from an author or from a musician or a creator. But the flip side of that is you can stagnate, and you can eventually just keep writing the same thing over and over again. You see that happen a lot in television. That happened a little bit with Burn Notice near the end. The show was so popular that it had to keep going, And there were even a couple of plots that they recycled from earlier seasons. They just switched out the bad guys. Like, well, we did Yakuza last time, so we'll do the Russians this time, but it's the same plot. Just to kind of stretch the run. Yeah, it gave you what you came to expect, but you come to a point where that's all that they're giving you, then it becomes an issue. There's a series that I'm going to get back into. I read the first 3 or 4 and really, really liked them a couple of years ago, and then it started to kind of change into something else. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be committed to the long haul here. It's called Skullduggery Pleasant. I bring it up pretty much every year around October just because the main character is a skeleton detective who knows magic, and there's some like, pseudo-gothic dark forces and stuff that they're up against. It's not exclusively a Halloween type thing, but it fits the atmosphere really well, so there is that. But I want to get back into it. I think I'm a little bit more forgiving now than I was 5 or 6 years ago of the fact that an artist can start something and it can be one thing, but the more that he adds to it, the more the tone and tenor of it is going to change. And that can be okay. Not to say necessarily that it is, but it can be. Brandon Sanderson, I'm a much bigger fan of his earlier works than I am of his current stuff. And even back in 2017, I struggled to keep going with the Stormlight Archive books because I'd gotten accustomed to a different thing from him. I still think that his original Mistborn trilogy might just be his magnum opus, even though he would arguably say that it is the Stormlight books, which are macroscopic in size, just enormous paving stones of books. Like entire forests have died to bring those books to the world. And he's quite proud of that. I just haven't been able to force myself through all of those, and it's not my bag, baby. But it's found its audience, and that's fine. Like an audience can change, a reader can change, a writer can change, a creator can change, and I may yet at some point in the future come back around to it. As you guys know, I'm reading the Silmarillion, and I'm taking it slow, and I'm making a study of it for my 5-minute Silmarillion series on the Cracker Stack. They will eventually become videos here on the channel. I've probably read that thing in its entirety in pieces here and there over the years, but this is the first time that I've ever really been able to sit down and read it cover to cover and appreciate it as a through-line narrative and keep track of all the minutiae and the intricacies. There was a time in my life as a reader when I would not have been able to do that. I wouldn't have had the focus or the interest in tracking that much stuff. Part of it was I needed to have enough life experience to be able to really grasp what Tolkien was writing about and why. He was recreating a lost mythology for his people, and his own personal spiritual beliefs and understandings and experiences were also very heavily represented in that narrative. And I've had enough life experiences, not necessarily that were similar to his, but that, we'll say, echoed his, to where I can appreciate what he was doing, and I find beauty and value in what he's portraying there. And I'm very, very excited to get that written series done and then put them all out in a row here. The ultimate point of putting them on the Cracker Stack was to make scripts for the videos, but also have something printed that people can refer back to. That way it can exist in 2 forms. It's okay to change your tastes as a reader. It's okay for creators to change their tastes as artists. Sometimes it can go in a weird direction. Apparently Joaquin Phoenix was a rapper for 5 minutes there. Like, stuff happens. It's fine. Art changes because people change. And art is a creation of the human soul. I saw a very succinct statement over the weekend that I've since shared elsewhere. I don't know who originally said it. It's just a screen cap of a comment somewhere where it says that AI inadvertently proved the existence of a human soul because it tried to create art without one, and we can all recognize it. The AI debate is an interesting subject in and of itself. I'm a little bit closer to the Shad Brooks camp of it can be a tool in your toolbox, but I do also understand the guys like George Alexopoulos who think that it needs to be burned off the face of the earth because art is exclusively a human endeavor. Like I understand that. I think it can have a role to play. but it's one of those things that cannot replace the human experience. You might be able to successfully emulate so much of it, but at the end of the day, a soul is not something that a human being can create. We can bring life into this world, but the soul comes from somewhere else. We'll argue until we're blue in the face about where that is. Nevertheless, it does exist, and it does respond and grow and change and adapt to its influences. Those are my thoughts on art and artists who change and moms who give you double entendre shirts 13 years after the last time you saw them and send you off to hang out with your very Christian friends with a sex joke on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Until next time, drive safe. See you out there.